If you lie awake at night with a racing mind and wake up already anxious before the day has even started, this video is going to explain exactly why that happens and exactly what to do about it tonight, not tomorrow, tonight, in 10 seconds. Most people who struggle with nighttime anxiety have been told the same things for years. Try to relax, practice gratitude, limit your screen time. And while those things have some value, they completely miss the biological mechanism that is actually keeping your nervous system locked in a threat response when your body is supposed to be recovering. The anxiety you feel at night is not a thinking problem. It is a chemistry problem, and chemistry has specific inputs that change it fast. By the end of this video, you are going to know the complete pre-sleep routine that shuts down your anxiety response at a neurological level, starting with one 10-second action you can do tonight before you close your eyes. And the last thing I share is the one that surprises people most. It requires zero effort and takes no time at all. But the neuroscience behind it is the most powerful anxiety reduction mechanism your brain has access to every single night. Stay with me for that one. Habit number 1, the 10-second physiological sigh. The first and most immediate action you can take tonight, the 10-second action at the center of this entire video, is something called the physiological sigh, and it is the fastest known biological reset for an activated anxiety response that neuroscience has documented. Here is the mechanism. When you are anxious, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. This causes carbon dioxide to build up in your bloodstream, and elevated blood CO2 is one of the most powerful triggers for the panic and anxiety response that exists. Your body interprets high CO2 as a signal that something is wrong and amplifies the threat response accordingly. This is why anxiety can feel like it is escalating on its own with no new trigger. Your own breathing chemistry is feeding the loop. The physiological sigh breaks this loop in 10 seconds. It works like this. You take a deep inhale through your nose, filling your lungs completely. Then, before you exhale, you take one more short, sharp inhale on top of the first one, almost like a sniff, to fully expand your lungs and reinflate the small air sacs that collapsed during shallow, anxious breathing. Then, you release everything slowly through your mouth for as long as possible. Researchers at Stanford, including neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, found that the physiological sigh produces the fastest measurable reduction in physiological arousal of any breathing technique studied, faster than box breathing, faster than deep breathing alone, faster than any other method, because it directly addresses the CO2 buildup that is chemically amplifying your anxiety response. Before I tell you exactly when to use this tonight, I want to say something honest for just a moment. This channel exists because I genuinely care about getting real, useful science into the hands of people who need it. If this video is already giving you something real, the Buy Me a Coffee link is in the description below. One coffee is all it takes to fund the research for the next video. If this work matters to you even a little, it is there. Now, let me show you exactly when to use this technique for maximum anxiety relief tonight. Here is your action tonight. The moment you get into bed, before you close your eyes, before your thoughts start racing, before the anxiety has a chance to build, do 2 physiological sighs back to back. Double inhale through the nose, long, slow exhale through the mouth. Twice. That is your 10-second action, and your nervous system will begin shifting from sympathetic threat mode to parasympathetic recovery mode within 30 seconds of completing it. Now, the next step addresses something that happens in the 60 minutes before you even get into bed, and getting this wrong is what makes everything else much harder to do this for 10 seconds tonight and wake up without anxiety. Habit number 2. The 90-minute wind-down signal. The second element of your pre-sleep anxiety protocol is what I call the 90-minute wind-down signal, and it targets the specific biological trigger that determines whether your cortisol drops naturally in the evening or stays elevated through the night. Your body has a natural cortisol curve, In the evening, cortisol is supposed to decline gradually as your nervous system prepares for sleep and recovery. In people with anxiety, this curve is disrupted. Cortisol stays elevated, or actually rises in the evening rather than declining, which is why the anxiety gets worse at night rather than better. The primary driver of this cortisol disruption is evening blue light exposure from phones and screens, combined with emotionally activating content, news, social media, other people's problems, conflict content. Your brain processes all of this as socially and emotionally relevant threat information that requires a cortisol response. The evening cortisol that should be declining instead gets repeatedly re-triggered every time you check your phone. Researchers studying evening cortisol patterns found that people who eliminated screen use 90 minutes before sleep showed measurably lower evening cortisol and significantly reduced nighttime anxiety compared to people who used screens until sleep. Not 30 minutes, 90 minutes. The difference in cortisol levels was substantial enough to measurably change both sleep quality and morning anxiety levels. Here is your action. Move your phone to another room 90 minutes before your intended sleep time. Not 30 minutes, 90. This single change gives your cortisol curve enough time to naturally decline before sleep begins. If 90 minutes feels impossible tonight, start with 60 and work toward 90 across the week. The reduction in morning anxiety you will notice within 7 days will make the adjustment feel completely worthwhile. Here is the crazy part. The content you consume in your last 90 minutes before sleep is processed by your brain during the night as emotionally significant information requiring integration. Every stressful thing you read or watch before bed gets filed and processed overnight, competing directly with the nervous system recovery your body needs. Your phone is not just keeping you awake, it is giving your sleeping brain homework that keeps your anxiety system activated all night. Share this with someone who scrolls until they fall asleep, not as a lecture, because this one piece of information genuinely has the power to change how they feel every single morning. Now, number 3. This one involves something your body does automatically every night that most people accidentally interfere with. And once you stop interfering, the anxiety reduction is almost immediate. Habit number 3. The temperature reset. The third element is one of the most overlooked anxiety reduction tools available to you every single night because it requires no effort and costs nothing. Your body lowers its core temperature as part of the biological process of preparing for deep, restorative sleep. This temperature drop is not just a side effect of sleep, it is a cause of it. The drop in core body temperature directly activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your calm and recovery system, and signals your amygdala that the threat scan can be suspended for the night. When your body temperature stays elevated because of a warm room, a hot shower too close to bedtime, or heavy blankets, your amygdala interprets this thermal signal as evidence that the body is still active and potentially in a threat context. The full parasympathetic activation your nervous system needs to release anxiety overnight never fully occurs. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley documented that even a 1 to 2 degree Fahrenheit drop in core body temperature was sufficient to trigger the parasympathetic activation associated with deep, non-REM sleep, the most neurochemically restorative stage of the sleep cycle, and the stage most responsible for anxiety regulation and cortisol clearance overnight. Here is your action tonight. 20 to 30 minutes before sleep, expose your hands and feet to slightly cool air outside your blankets. Keep your room temperature slightly cool rather than warm. If you shower in the evening, shower at least 90 minutes before bed to allow your body temperature to drop naturally before you lie down. These small temperature adjustments remove one of the most common and most easily fixed barriers to the parasympathetic activation your nervous system needs to release anxiety overnight. Now, number 4 involves what your brain does with your thoughts in the final minutes before sleep. And the specific technique here is one that most people have never heard of, but that produces some of the most dramatic reductions in nighttime anxiety of anything in this video. Habit number 4, the worry transfer. The fourth element is called the worry transfer, and it is based on research into how unresolved cognitive load contributes to nighttime anxiety and disrupted sleep. One of the primary reasons anxiety escalates at night is that your brain is holding a large number of unresolved mental items, things you need to do, things you are worried about, things you have not dealt with, things you are afraid of forgetting. Your brain interprets these open loops as active threats that require continued monitoring. It cannot fully release into sleep and recovery while it is still acting as a storage system for unresolved concerns. Researchers at Baylor University found something remarkable about the relationship between writing and sleep. Participants who spent 5 minutes before bed writing a specific to-do list for the following day, not a general worry journal, not an anxiety dump, but a specific, concrete list of tasks for tomorrow, fell asleep significantly faster than participants who wrote about completed tasks or did not write at all. The act of transferring unresolved items from your brain onto paper gave your brain permission to release them from active monitoring. The open loops were closed, not by resolving the concerns, but by recording them in a place your brain trusted to hold them overnight. Here is your action tonight. Keep a small notebook beside your bed. In the 5 minutes before you begin your 10-second physiological sigh, write down every open loop that is in your mind. Not your worries, your tasks, the specific things you intend to do tomorrow. Make the list as concrete and specific as possible. Then, close the notebook. Your brain now knows those items are recorded and does not need to keep them in active memory overnight. The anxiety that comes from holding too much dissolves when the holding is transferred somewhere else. Now, everything I have shared so far is real and it works. The physiological sigh shuts down the CO2-driven anxiety loop in 10 seconds. The 90-minute wind-down signal allows your cortisol to naturally decline before sleep. The temperature reset removes the thermal barrier to parasympathetic activation, and the worry transfer closes the cognitive open loops that keep your amygdala on guard all night. But this last element, this is the one that changed how I understand nighttime anxiety entirely, and I think it will do the same for you. Habit number 5, the safety signal. Now, everything I have shared so far matters deeply, but this fifth element is the most powerful and the most surprising, and it requires nothing, no action, no technique, no effort at all. The fifth element is what I call the safety signal, and it is based on one of the most important findings in polyvagal theory developed by neuroscientist Dr. Stephen Porges. Your nervous system is continuously scanning your environment for signals of safety or threat. And here is the critical finding. Your nervous system responds to perceived safety signals just as powerfully as it responds to perceived threat signals. When your brain receives clear safety signals, it genuinely and measurably deactivates the anxiety response, not because you thought your way out of anxiety, but because your biology received the input it needed to stop generating it. The most powerful safety signal your nervous system has access to is the vivid memory of genuine human warmth. Research in polyvagal neuroscience found that even the remembered experience of feeling genuinely safe with another person activates the ventral vagal pathway, the specific neural pathway responsible for the calm, connected state that is the neurological opposite of anxiety. Here is your action tonight. In the final moments before sleep, after your physiological sigh and your worry transfer, bring to mind one specific memory of feeling completely safe with another person. Not a concept, a specific moment, a specific person, a specific feeling of being genuinely held and not alone. Hold that memory as sleep takes you. Your brain uses that safety signal as its final input before beginning overnight processing. A nervous system that enters sleep feeling safe clears cortisol more completely, deactivates the amygdala more deeply, and delivers you to morning with significantly less anxiety fuel than one that enters sleep in a threat state. This is what it means to do this for 10 seconds tonight and wake up without anxiety. Not a trick, a sequence of biological inputs that give your nervous system exactly what it needs to recover overnight and deliver you to morning genuinely different.